Let's get going. Good morning, everyone. Anyone know what anime that's from? Or, yeah, the artwork is based on. See if we have any men and women of culture. Yeah, very good. Violet Evergarden. Very good, and also very oftentimes depressing anime. It's I can wholly recommend it, but dang, there are some sad stories in it. All right, so today we're going to be talking about syntax versus semantics, and we're probably going to move on to the problem of consciousness. All right, so we're also going to have some programming assignments coming up. We're going to finish off this semester teaching you all Python. Python is one of the world's most popular computer languages, and probably won't get to it today, but see if there's any charts of this kind of thing. Yeah, so there you go. So you can see that Python has been doing quite well over the years. Python. Yeah, there you go. So it depends how you measure it and stuff like that, but it's popular, and so we'll learn that over the last couple weeks of school, and should have some fun with that. But just be aware that's coming up. We're not probably going to get to it today. All right. So what is syntax? What is semantics? So in computer science, syntax is the rules of grammar. Okay, and in English too, as well. So in English, you can say I run, he runs, they run, she runs, right? Like there's what's called subject-verb agreement, right? You guys all are aware of this. This is like the fundamental rule of English grammar, right? And I didn't know that it was the fundamental rule of English grammar until I took Chinese, right? And when studying Mandarin, there's no subject-verb agreement. The verbs don't change at all. You can say 我说, 他说, 你说, I speak, she speaks, you speak, it doesn't change at all. It's just 说. Oh. And there's almost no conjugations at all. You can tag a l onto it to indicate completion or something like that, but basically, the rules of Mandarin are a lot simpler, at least in that regard, than they are in English. If you want to learn an easy language, learn Mandarin. In fact, my Japanese instructor said that on the first day of school. She's like, Japanese is a hard language. If you want an easy language, go take Mandarin. And she was being maybe joking, but I don't think so, because it's actually true. Mandarin's actually a very easy language to learn. Some people struggle with the tones, and some people struggle with the characters, but as far as like the language itself, it's very easy, and so it has a very simple syntax. Okay, syntax are the rules of the language. Semantics are the meaning of a word. So 说 is to speak, right? 走 and 坐 are two different words that mean to sit and to go, to walk. Semantics is the meaning of a word. Syntax is the rules of grammar, like how you can put a sentence together legitimately. Semantics are the meaning of it. Okay? And this comes up in human languages all the time, as well as computer science. Yep. Good morning, Daisy. You guys understand that distinction? So syntax are the rules of the language. The rules of the languages. That doesn't sound quite right. You can't say it's the rule of the languages. Why not? You just say the rule of languages. Right? In English, there's rules. And, a lot of times we're completely unaware of them. Right? Like, does anyone know? Why can you not say syntax is the rule of the languages? Anyone know? it almost sounds okay, but it also sounds wrong to us, right? And this is one of the hard things about trying to teach English, uh, you know, especially people in countries that don't have definite or indefinite articles, right? The is the definite article. It's when you talk about, I'm going to go into the car. There is a car that you're specifically talking about. I'm going to go into the car right now. I'm going to go into the house right now. It's your house. It's the house, right? And you can't say, I'm going to go into house right now. Right? Chinese you can. Right? I'm going to go into house. In English, that just sounds weird. I'm going to go into a house. Well, that's the indefinite article. And so, okay, what house are you going into? I'm going to go into a house. Whose house? What house? What? I'm going to go into the house. Probably is your house. And so there's all these rules, and they're, and when you take English classes, they usually don't explain them, right? Like, I never heard, like, really any explanations of, like, subject-verb agreement and things like that, like, kind of laid out in a lecture. Like, you would, do, like, worksheets sometimes where you had to say, like, he sat, they sat, I sitted. No, that's not right. You cross off, They never, like, explain it. It was like when I took Mandarin, and he was like, look, in English, the fundamental rule is subject to verb agreement. As long as your subject and your verb agree, like, basically everything else is fair game. I sat on the cat. The cat, I sat on. Onto the cat, I sat. Cats, I like to sit on. As long as the subject and the verb agree, you can kind of just move the words around, stuff like that. That's the English syntax. Okay. And the meanings are, you're sitting on a cat. Okay. So, in both human language and in computer language and in real life, we have these things called symbols. And symbols are things somewhat arbitrary. This thing looks like a chicken foot or something with a circle around it. Same for Latin. I didn't know that. That's cool. That's good to know. What does the chicken foot with a circle around it mean? If there's a meaning, like, there's a symbol, and the semantics are the meaning of the symbol. What is the meaning of the chicken foot with a circle around it? Anyone know? Peace? Okay. Why does the chicken foot stand for peace? Because they're chickens? They're afraid to go to war? It just does? Okay, peace. Okay. Alright. What about this? What does this mean? Because everyone agrees it means peace? Okay. Well, how did everybody come to agree that it means peace? Consensus theory. Yeah, it's fair. It's actually a pretty fair answer right there. So what does this mean? You get a photo taken. You see a lot of people do this when they did get a photo taken. Also means peace? Does it? Bunny ears? Because, I see a lot of people getting their photos taken and they go, do you think they're, like, actually saying peace? Like, they're like, I'm protesting the war in, Ukraine, It's a political statement. Nixon's victory sign. I think I have a photo of me at the Nixon library going like that in front of his helicopter. Yeah. Does it? Honestly, like, when you see somebody do this in a photograph, do you guys think they're wishing for, like, world peace these days? Or are they just, like, making a cool sign? I'm actually asking you. I don't know. I know it's called the peace sign, right? What is this? This is the peace sign. But do you think they're making a political statement, or they just want something to do with their hands? What do you think? Isn't that a symbol of violence in some parts of the world? Yeah, so in England and, I don't think the story is true, but whatever, it's a good story, so I'm going to tell it anyway. So after the Battle of Agincourt, supposedly the British went like this to the French. Um, Supposedly the French would cut off the fingers of longbowmen because they hated them so much after the battles of Crécy and Poitiers and Agincourt. The English longbowmen defeated the French knights, who were supposed to be the best, soldiers in the world, really, at the time. And so the urban legend, because again, I don't think it's real, was that when the French would capture a longbowman, they would chop the finger off. Maybe it is, who knows? And so the longbowmen would go like this to show that they still have their fingers they draw with. And so it kind of means F you. So it's done to show happiness. I'm sure that if it was meant to protest against war, it's lost that meaning now. Yeah, that's kind of my take on it too, right? Like, in the 60s, you'd see hippies going like this, like, yeah, peace, no war in Vietnam, this kind of stuff. Nowadays, I mean, we call it the peace sign, but I never interpret it as meaning, they're wishing for peace. It's just like, it's a cool thing. There's all, like, if you play Watch Dogs 2, you can unlock different poses and things like that. When you get your photo taken, like your character can go, all these different kinds of poses, and I think it's just to look cool or something. Usually another way of saying, like, see you later. Oh, yeah. What does the green background mean? What is green? Like, how would you interpret the green in this context? Is it green? Earth, nature, environment. Yeah, that's how I'd interpret this as Greenpeace, right? So. Right. So there is like environmental peace. I wonder if that's actually good. Which is different from green peas, right? That's what your mom makes you eat. Yeah, I don't see that green peace symbol there, but I would probably interpret this in the light of environmental peace, right? Like, that's kind of the meaning that I get from this symbol. Could have been Ireland. Green is the color of Ireland, and there's a reason for that. Ireland is very green. It's ridiculously green. Not all parts of it. There's some parts that are very rocky and things like that. But man, like, Ireland gets a lot of rain, and it's green, and so it's called the Emerald Isle for a reason. Romans called it Hibernia, the land of eternal winter, because they sent out an expedition to conquer Ireland, or at least to scout it. They get there in summertime, and it rained the entire month, and they're just like, nope, we don't like this place, and they just left. They never conquered it. All right, what does this symbol mean? I think this is the beer mug symbol, right? You put your beer down on the pub table and put it down in a different place every time. Toxic, radioactive. Toxic, radioactive. Okay. Yeah, this is the biohazard symbol. Right? And they designed this symbol, I think, so that even if you don't know what the symbol means, it doesn't mean anything good. Right? So it looks like a bunch of thorns coming out, kind of. So, yeah, there's some interesting, questions, right? Like, if you're going to make a radioactive waste dump, and it's going to be radioactive for, like, thousands of years or whatever. Now, of course, there's a half-life on things, and it becomes less radioactive over time. But the people who are making the radioactive waste dumps want to have signs up that can be read by people in the future, even if, like, humanity goes extinct, right? And so they have these interesting, questions like, how do you make a sign to ward off humans who have lost the ability to speak English after World War III, so that they don't come in and get, you know, fall into the toxic waste stuff. And so symbols like this are deliberately designed to evoke sensations of fear and like warning and things like that. It's kind of cool. So, what does this mean? Super. So in Hinduism, it is the symbol for Om. So people say when they meditate. So. So looks like nobody on chat got it, and nobody guessed the meaning of it because, why would you? So not all symbols inherently kind of look like this kind of does, right? Like this kind of at least looks dangerous. I'm not sure if the chicken foot looks like anything in particular. But yeah, and so basically you kind of know this symbol or you don't, right? It's probably the most famous symbol of Hinduism. Okay. What are this? What does this mean? It's a stop hexagon is a great way of putting it, Edgar. This isn't a stop sign. It doesn't have the word stop on it, right? But if you see that red octagon, right, then you're like, stop. Right? What did you say? Octagon? Yeah. It's clearly a triangle. You turn any polygon into a bunch of triangles, try hard enough. So, it's a stop sign, octagon. It doesn't say stop on it, but kind of everybody knows it. And so if you're like in a, I don't know, computer program or something, and you see one of these symbols in it, you know that you can click that to like stop whatever it is that's running, right? And we know this because we've seen it out in, walking around, and so we can recognize it. Right? What do these characters mean? Do we have any Chinese or Korean or Japanese speakers in chat right now? Yeah, they're Chinese symbols, Japanese kanji, and then Koreans used to, not so much anymore nowadays. Korea mostly uses Hangul for stuff, but if you talk to like old Korean people, they'd be able to read these characters. You can speak a little Japanese, not good though. The red gets the attention of the stop sign, yeah. Love and dragon terms. Okay. Anyone recognize any of these? Okay. Okay, so for one thing, these characters are all reversed. So whoever made this got it either deliberately backwards, or these are designed for like transfer stamps or something like that, where you can like sticker it to your skin or something like that. All of these are reversed in the horizontal direction, so none of these characters are actually correct. They're all backwards, which I find hilarious. Like if you've ever seen people get like Chinese tattoos without checking to see what they mean, like Ariana Grande. It's really hilarious. And to be fair, it kind of goes the other way as well. If you go to Japan, they just put random English words on things, and to me, it's like kind of the equivalent of like English speakers getting kanji or Chinese tats that they don't know really what it says. Yeah, they just walk around with just like random words on their T-shirts and things like that, and it's kind of funny. Yeah, but do any of these characters look like the thing that they're supposed to represent? See, if I ever got a tat like that, I would just say, look it up on Google Translate. What does that mean? Look it up on Google Translate. Okay, so yeah, fire kind of looks like fire, right? Dragon, yeah, you can kind of see it. It's a little bit like a dragon, right? Like a little bit. This is a character for heart. And if you look at love, you can see the character for heart is inside of it. So that's, I think, friendship or a person at least. Kind of looks like Pengyo de Peng here. Beauty, the lower half here looks like large to me. The upper half looks like sheep. Is that really where it comes from? So one of the interesting things when you study Chinese symbolism is I have to go to my Chinese bookshelf. I've got a bunch of books on Chinese characters and things like that. Almost. Is that you can look up like the genealogy of a character, and so some Chinese characters are like pictures of the things they're supposed to represent. Like you can all see that for fire, right? Is that not unreasonable? You guys see that? You guys see fire there? But like faith, you're like, okay, what does faith mean? Like how is that faith? How do you draw faith? And the answer is like you can't, right? Let's see if I can give an explanation for faith. So most Chinese characters actually don't directly represent. They're not a picture usually. Some of them are. Like for fire, for horse, things like that. They're actually pictures of the things they represent. It's a very easy bit of symbolism. What is that? It's fire. Water kind of looks like water and things like that. But most 80% of Chinese characters, something like that, are actually compound characters. And so they have either a left half and a right half, or they have a top half and a bottom half. Like for love, it's arranged vertically. Beauty is arranged vertically. Faith is, there's a left half and a right half. Okay? And the, let's see if we can find it here on Zhongwen.com. Search English faith. It's not letting me do it. It's so annoying. Yeah, just tell me it's not secure. That's fine. I'm not sending them my bank account balance. Firefox. Just let me do this. Faith. There we go. Okay. So yeah, you can see what it actually is supposed to look like here. It's not. You see how it's mirrored here. So you have the left half, which is Ren, which is a person, and the right half here means words, right? So if you click on words, you'll see a bunch of characters that all descend from word. There we go. And there you got faith, and then you've got mouth, words, console. Interesting. Sound. Just sing. What happened here? We're in a different section of the lineage. And so, anyhow, the point is that there are these lineages, character lineages, right? And so this character comes from this character, which comes from this character. And so you can see this is the character for, I guess, crying. And then you put a crying with a dog, inu, or gao. Sichuan. Yeah, either way. And so wailing dog means to cry or to weep. And then crying over the dead means to mourn somebody, stuff like that. So the more Chinese you understand, like the more like everything just kind of makes sense to you. And a lot of times you can guess the meaning of a word based on the component parts of it, right? And so even though you would think, oh, I've got to memorize like all of these different I've got to memorize like 900 million characters and they're all different. It's really not the case, right? So, you see you got the mouth radical here. That's to shout or to yell. This one is the earth radical. So, okay, so you see that one comes from here. So, earth with work becomes soil. And then this is the language radical here with manager. So to allow, to offer, wrong is to let somebody do something. It's a very important word. And so words for work, is to, I allow you to do something. Okay. So that's like 3 boxes, right? Or 3 mouths, rather. And so, and then, and so basically I actually used that website more than anything to like understand what a character meant, where it came from, what other characters use it, and things like that. That was the only book I took with me. Zhongwen.com's character lineage. That was the only book I took with me to China. I didn't take a dictionary with me. I took the character lineage for no other reason. Like it allowed me to look up characters. Like if I would see like a character on a hospital, I'd be like, oh, that looks like that other character over there. And then I flip the character I know, and then I can trace it over to the one that I'm trying to look up. It's very useful. So you can create new symbols and people would sort of know what you mean. Yeah, nowadays, they don't really make new characters so much as make compound characters, right? And so, like, Coca-Cola in Chinese isn't like its own character, Instead, they have this great bit of marketing here. Coca-Cola, right? Coca-Cola. And it means like, what's that, easy on the mouth or something like that. Like it's a phonetic translation, but it also has like this really great, tastes good and, is easy on the mouth or whatever. So they usually put together multiple characters these days. They usually don't invent new characters. But yeah, back in the day, that's exactly what happened. Like somebody would be like, all right, well, we've got this character for tiger, but we discovered this new thing called a panther. It's not a tiger. It's kind of like a tiger. So we're going to take the tiger radical and like add another thing to it. And that's how characters came from. Meanwhile, in Japanese, they just use katakana. Yeah, the Japanese import words using katakana, and they just basically do a phonetic translation kind of to import something. In Mandarin, companies pay a lot of money to consultants to come up with a good Chinese translation of their company name that both works phonetically and has like a good meaning like that. Like Coca-Cola's translation is like, fantastic, So, but like if you're learning Chinese and you've never seen a certain character before, a lot of times you can guess at the meaning and the pronunciation, because usually when you have something like this, and again this is backwards, one of the sides is pronunciation, the other side is meaning. And so It's got a guide to pronunciation, and a lot of times you can kind of guess. Is that zo? No, it's so. Okay, close, right? You can guess the pronunciation, you can guess at the meaning. So it's a very interesting system of, you know, like I said, it's a lot easier than it looks like. Because it looks like, and again, these are all backwards. It looks like you just have like an infinite number of possibilities, and that's really not the case. There's not that many radicals. The parts that go into a character, there's not actually that many. You just have to learn the characters for like sun and moon and fire, water, ice, plant. It's like Pokemon. Sounds like, right? But you just kind of learn the most fundamental radicals, and then after that, you know, you can write out, you know, the bigger radicals. You just remember, okay, it's a sheep on top and it's big down below. Okay, easy. So it takes up very little space in your head. What does this symbol mean? You sometimes see overlap from Punjabi words to Spanish words. Really, was there? But Punjab isn't near like Goa. Like, what was there a lot of contact? Like, I'm really not, you know, familiar too much with that history. Is there a reason, Simran, why there's overlap between Spanish and Punjabi? It's just a circle. Yeah, like a lot of people look at this and say that's the Deadpool character, right? And it is. Okay, if you went into a restroom and you saw this one and this one, which one do you think has hot water? Which one do you think has cold water? Oh, that's interesting. Okay. Cold is blue and hot is red. Okay. Blue is cold, red is hot. All right. Okay. Are you guys looking at the pipes up above? Trace the... They're the exact same water line, right? So, pipes do nothing all about color. Yeah, so when I went to China, I was surprised that the colors oftentimes meant the exact opposite of what I thought it meant in America, right? So blue was hot sometimes and red was cold sometimes. And trust me, when you're expecting cold water and it's scalding hot, you're like, you remember that for the next time. In this case, you know, Spain did conquer a lot in the past, but yeah, but I mean, it was England, right? That yeah, I don't know. And I mean, and Goa was Portuguese, I think, right? So I don't know. But yeah, like when you burn your hand, then you start paying attention to this stuff a little more, right? But do you guys see what I mean by like symbols and semantics? Like the symbol in this case is just a color, right? Like what does that mean? Red is hot, blue is cold, right? But the meaning is they're the in this case they're the same water, right? Yeah. All right, what does that mean? See that a lot when you go to Japan. Also peace. Oh Lord, yeah. Just waiting for chat to explode. What does that symbol mean? And why are they all over the place in Japan? You open up Google Maps, and there's swastikas all over the place in Japan. Yeah. So for those of you who think this is the no-no German symbol, the swastika the Nazis used goes the other way, for one thing. So, yeah, Twitch termination. DuckDuckGo won't autocomplete on it. I don't know how to spell swastika, is that right? Okay. So, see the Nazi one went to the right, the one used in Buddhism goes to the left. And so if you see that on like Google Maps, it means it's a Buddhist church. It does not mean that there are secret Hitlers, there, right? And sometimes they don't show it either. That's kind of the interesting thing to me, is like, I don't know if like people complained or what, but like sometimes they don't draw them on there and sometimes they do. So let's see if they're currently using them on Google Maps. Use a character for language there, or school. Yep, there you go. Yeah, you can see boom, 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 boom. Very beautiful area of Kyoto, by the way, if you ever get a chance to go there. It's actually just a really gorgeous walk you can do. I don't know why. Okay, there you go. And then you have the Shinto symbol here, right? That little Torii arch. So there's a nice hike you can do kind of along the base of Higashiyama here. If you ever get a chance to go to Japan, Kyoto is kind of like a place you have to go to. Like it's the best tourist destination in Japan, and America was going to nuke it. And there was fortunately a weeb in the U.S. government who got to decide which part of Japan got nuked, and he kept crossing Kyoto off the list, and the military kept putting it back on. He's like, no, I've been to Kyoto on my honeymoon. It's nice. We're not nuking it, So fortunately, it's been preserved. So so you'll see that on a lot of Buddhist churches, or temples, and people are like, a lot of tourists are like, oh, I don't know if you should have that up. It is what it is, and so I watched a TV show about a year ago where they walked around and asked Japanese people what connotation the swastika had in Europe, and like most of them didn't know. They're like, it just means Buddhism, doesn't it? No, not not to people in other countries. And so sometimes the symbol has two very different meanings, right? Like in Japan, it has a very positive association with Buddhism, and in Europe, people would be like, so yeah. So what is a symbol? A symbol is something that represents something else. Yep. It is like a finger pointing to the moon. Do not mistake the finger for the moon, or you'll miss all of that heavenly glory. Bruce Lee. Yeah, there we go. Semantics is meaning. Okay, what is the meaning behind a symbol? Okay. And so what we do when we communicate is we're trying to communicate meaning from one person to another, right? Like, I'm trying to like take all these different topics in this critical thinking class and kind of like pack them into your brain, right? Like that's the whole point of teaching, right? Is that we got a set of knowledge that we're supposed to teach during the class. You take a biology class, immunology or something, and basically the professor's got this body of knowledge, and they're trying to like pack it into students' brains, Critical thinking is a little different, because in critical thinking, I'm mostly interested not in specific knowledge, but in how you think, right? Somebody makes a claim. There's this fighter pilot called the Ghost of Kiev that has shot down, 5 Russian jets in one day or something like that. Is it real? I don't know. Right? And so in critical thinking, I more want you to have good thought processes, that, end up with you believing true things and not believing false things. Right? That's the whole point of critical thinking, right? So you have good, healthy habits of mind. You read a news story, somebody posts some clickbait on social media, and you take a moment before you click that retweet or the reshare button or whatever. You take a moment and go like, I don't know if that's real or not, and you look into it. Like if that's all my students did if that's all you got out of this class, like it would make me so happy. Like if people just took a moment and be like, I don't know if that sounds right to me, and you look into it before you hit the share button and spread false information. That's it, like honestly, that would just make me so happy. So how meaning is spread from one person to another is called semiotics. And in fact, memes are a form of meaning sharing, right? We talked about this earlier. A meme is a mental virus, right? It's a term coined by Richard Dawkins. He's a pretty good evolutionary biologist that for some reason has become the face of the new atheist movement. So memes are a form of sharing information from one person to another. And, language conveys meaning, and words convey meaning, and symbols convey meaning. When I showed you the Deadpool symbol, everyone's like, oh, that's Deadpool, right? There's the meaning of Deadpool. And so when you do communication, you're communicating meaning. That's what we want, right? And, right? And so if I showed you that symbol of a stop sign octagon, immediately you knew the meaning was to stop. Even though the word didn't even say stop on it, the concept, the meaning of stop came through just from looking at a red octagon. Okay? So in computer science, computers are fundamentally symbol processing machines. They're given a list of symbols, A, B, B, A, C, D, Q, whatever. And they process the symbols kind of one at a time, and they process it and they do something with the symbol, and then they process another one and they do something with that. And that's all really a computer is. Like it just reads oftentimes 32 bits at a time or 64 bits at a time from RAM. There's just a pattern of ones and zeros in there. The thing has some rules on what to do. If you see a 1100, that means do addition. If you see a 1101, that means subtraction. If you see a 1110, it means do multiplication, whatever. They basically say that, okay, I'm going to add. That, okay, I'm going to multiply. That. And they have no concept of meaning, right? And so, it might look intelligent, right? It might say, if name equals Bill, I know you. Hey, Bill, how you doing? But it's really not. All it's saying is if the bit pattern matches Bill, then print these ones and zeros to the screen. It doesn't know any meaning. It doesn't know that it's saying, hey, how are you? Any of this stuff. It's like, if this equals this, then print this. And it has no concept of semantics. And so this concept here is what led Searle, he's a philosopher emeritus in Berkeley, to develop what he calls the Chinese room problem. And so the notion of the Chinese room is that you put in questions in Chinese through a slot in the door. And on the inside, there's a person. The person doesn't speak Chinese, but he's got a giant dictionary in front of him that doesn't actually explain the meaning of it at all. All it does is say, if you get this character, then go to line 54 and write this down. And then if the next character is this one, write this down instead. And it's like this giant instruction manual. It's basically a computer program, right? And then at the end of the day, it produces, like Zai room God something Ren. I don't know. Really bad handwriting. I don't know. And then the person on the inside passes the thing back out. And the people on the outside, it's like, wow, that person knows how to speak Chinese. That person's a really intelligent Chinese speaker. And the answer is no. The person who was doing all of this work has no concept of meaning. The person cannot speak Mandarin, has no idea what's being said or not. There's no conscious experience of understanding of the meaning. But to the people on the outside, it'll fool them and say, oh, look, that person clearly, reads and speaks Chinese. And so Searle's point is that that's all computers are. That's essentially all a computer does. It just reads a symbol and then follows some rules and then reads another symbol and follows some rules and outputs things occasionally. And so his point is that artificial intelligence is not conscious. Okay? So you might have a human-looking robot that talks to you, reacts to you, hey, robot, go get me a coffee. yes, sir, and it comes back to the copy. It seems like it understands English. It seems like it's human because it's shaped like a human, and humans typically have empathy for other things shaped like humans. But he's saying there's no inner experience of probably anything. Probably because there is no semantic quality. Computers don't understand meaning, they only do pattern matching. Whereas humans fundamentally operate at the meaning level. We use symbols to communicate with each other, but we communicate meaning in our brains to other people. And Searle does say that, if we radically change how computers work, then this doesn't apply. This only applies to symbol processing computers. But basically every computer we have is a symbol processing machine. And so he argues, look, this question of AI, when you've got, AI rights coming up and things like that, is it murder to turn off a Tesla that's intelligent? He's like, no, it's not. It's just a symbol processing machine. It's not self-aware. It's not self-conscious. It might fool you, but it's not. Okay. So that is the point of the lecture today, is that humans process symbols to interpret meaning, and computers process symbols to generate other symbols and are not conscious, according to Searle. Now, there are lots of people that disagree with this, but like I said, in this class, I will present arguments, and then I'll present contrary arguments later, which we will get to on Wednesday. So hopefully that was a fun exploration of symbols and meaning for you. Some people can major in symbolism and semantic. I think the stupid Dan Brown novels, like the Da Vinci Code, if you've ever heard of that, the main character has like a PhD in like symbology or semantics or something like that. It's the goofiest, thing. Okay, so that is it for today, and I will see you all on Wednesday. I'll probably put up a Zybooks reading or something for you to read so you don't get too bored. All right, see you.